we're now T plus days from 0 hour.
Yeah.
At the MCC Correctional Facility in downtown Manhattan. I know you guys are probably your minds are vibrating at quite similar frequency to ours now with regards to this Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, and I'm doing the air quotes in the air. He killed himself in federal custody. Was he on suicide watch? I don't know, apparently not.
Yeah, no, he'd only just tried to kill himself 2 weeks ago. Why would you have him on suicide watch?
I want to be clear. We are on the road right now. We are coming to you from Des Moines. We are separate from our Sicko Hunter home base.
Yeah, I don't have my cork board. I don't have any of
the connections,
pictures, my yarn connectors.
I didn't bring any of my notebooks and all the various proofs that I have. Felix is not with us either. I do suspect we will do another deep dive episode into this story. Probably get Sicko Hunter our West Coast soldiers, Brace and Liz, back on the hunt. I'd like to get them back in the cut and do a much longer episode about this. But suffice to say, I woke up on Saturday, my birthday. Looked at my phone, as you do, sort of half asleep, and I'm seeing people like, I can't even take this Epstein shit. Like, I don't even know what to say. And I'm like, tell me about it, brother. This case is wild. Scrolled a little bit further. Jeffrey Epstein dead in his cell he just said killed himself. In the cell.
Just that thing that happens. Why do you need more specifics than that? He killed himself.
Yeah, I don't know what more I can say about this now.
It's just goddamn beyond everything, Ed Tom.
I just here is what I know for sure. There's a number of possibilities of what could have happened here. Him killing himself is not one of them.
Bottom possible likelihood. Lowest rung.
Murdered for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Body double swap switch.
Honestly, not outside the realm of possibility.
At this point, can we really say anything is too insane?
Come on, people. This is happening right in front of your face. They're looking you in the face and saying, yeah, a guy in federal custody in a secure housing unit who had previously tried to kill himself was left unsupervised
also
long
air
enough
quotes around
to
that.
somehow kill themselves in a cell where there's almost nothing that you could hang something from, and there's nothing to hang anything from. Oh, he just did it. And we're just supposed to say, okay, and you're telling us in no uncertain terms, what are you going to do about it? And that's why this serves two purposes. It gets Epstein out of the way, and it is just a big fuck you. We now have to walk around with that in our heads. We have to think, how can we ever think we're going to beat these people when they could do something like that right out in public, and there's not a goddamn thing we can do about it?
I mean, this is like, a week after we learned that he captivated some of the leading minds of Harvard and some of the top scientists in the world, captured their imaginations with a plan to freeze his brain and dick and create a teenage sex farm for breeding purposes, where he basically wanted his DNA to populate the universe and take over humanity.
Just
through AI, genetics,
super villain shit, like volcano lair super villain shit.
And I just him at a dinner party of the leading minds of Harvard, and he's just through cryogenics, artificial intelligence, and my dick, we're gonna create a race, a super race
of incredibly horny piano playing math prodigies.
And then Steven Pinker or whoever is interesting, tell me more.
Yeah.
But yeah, now when we did the episode 2 weeks ago, it's just I guess they tried to kill him. I guess the question is, why did that fail?
I mean, the thing is there's no way of knowing exactly what happened. Maybe the first one was him trying to get moved. Maybe it was fake. Maybe it was fending off an attack. Who knows? There's so many variables. All we know is that the likelihood that it is what we're being told is almost zero.
Almost zero. And why I would put it even beyond zero is the fact that on Saturday, when this news broke, which is an event that happens where the gulf between what you're seeing, can understand through your own perception, and what you're being told is so vast. It's just anyone can look at this and just be come on. This is he got killed a day after these court documents got unsealed, linking this human trafficking ring to Bill Richardson, George Mitchell, among other people, and then also an unnamed prime minister, and already
Prince Andrew, the
royal family, you know. And then now that he's dead, there is no criminal case.
Yeah, that's over.
It's gone.
There's no other person who's been charged with anything. So, oh well, I guess we could just close the book on that one and dust our hands off.
Remains to be seen. I asked this of several of the presidential candidates at the Iowa State Fair yesterday, the senators in particular, whether the Senate should convene hearings on this and maybe have some of his alleged victims and the people who have, brought this case to light to testify and tell their story. In front of a full, the Senate and television cameras. I think they deserve not just the chance to publicly state their case and the accusations that of what has happened to them, but also I think they're probably in extreme danger themselves. And
Absolutely.
any more
they
public,
can do anything,
and any more public profile we can get for these women, or to protect them, I think is extremely necessary.
Absolutely,
at this point.
They've clearly gone rogue here. They'll do whatever needs to be done to cut this off. And I think I had a realization. This is not a thing I can say with any certainty, but it is a hunch I've had. So the two more likely questions, the two likely answers to the question, what happened to Epstein? Least likely is that he actually killed himself because he was so sad. Oh, more likely, one of two things. One, they killed him, snuffed him out. Two, body switch. Those two things correspond to two different theories, I think, of the case. One, if they body switched him, then that answers the question of the dead man switch. The question of how can they kill Epstein if, as is likely being a guy in his situation, he has contingencies to release sensitive information if he is ever killed. So that means in that case, they would have to switch him out because they can't kill him. If they killed him, I think it's for this reason, or they were able to do it for this reason. I think that in a real sense, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't real. I do not think that what we assume as Jeffrey Epstein, like his life, his hedge fund, his network of properties, his life, I don't think that was really him. I feel like it is a straw name that is used by the network and by intelligence agencies to move money around, to move girls around, to maintain properties. And there's a name attached, there's a body attached to that name, and it's this guy. And he might really be Jeffrey Epstein. Like, that might be the name on his social security card. But he has no actual connection to the higher levels of the money moving around and the actual edifice of the thing being organized. He's just along for the ride, which means if he gets caught, you just fucking cut the string and it's over, because he never had access to anything that could have compromised anybody, because he's just a cutout.
I'll depart slightly from. I think Matt's brain has gotten a little too galaxified off of this. The Jeffrey Epstein is not a real person.
He's the Kaiser Soze. Okay. He's a name.
A spook story.
He's a spook story. He's a pedophile. It's a pedophile like front man.
I will say this though. The thing that leads me to believe that almost anything is possible other than the official story of him killing himself in federal custody, like as this trial was beginning to bring to light all sorts of incredibly damning things about, let's be honest, the most powerful people in the world.
Yep.
The reason I think it is almost impossible that he killed himself is that immediately after the story happened, I saw takes from numerous journalists all saying some variation of, I don't know. I mean, it's odd, but I don't think we need to be all conspiratorial about this. People kill themselves in prisons all the time. It's one of the leading causes of death in prison. And as Matt Brady quite correctly pointed out, that's assuming that all of those, at least a good percentage of those, aren't also shoddy murder cover-ups.
Of course. Tons of jail suicides are actually murders. And even the ones that are suicides are jail suicides, like some fucking county jail with minimal security. He's in a fucking federal secure housing unit 2 weeks after having already tried to kill himself. He had no fucking roommate. They'd taken the roommate out of his room right before it happened. This is not a normal situation. It just does not make sense. It does not add up. It does not add up, sir.
I mean, like I said, I expect we will do a deeper dive back when we're at Sicko Hunter World Headquarters to try to just suss out, try to make some sense of this. I mean, it's still remains fascinating. But I think what remains to be seen is, will this work? And then everyone will just forget about it and move on, or will anyone in the government pick up any kind of further investigation into what's going on here and the human trafficking network that has been the outlines of which are strongly intimated by this case?
I gotta say, like in my dark moments, I feel like that the whole Epstein affair, if you think of him as just like a name for this network, a label for the trafficking area, the trafficking nexus. If his name getting arrested, this guy going to jail, that is a glitch in the code, basically, of the algorithm of world government, right? Like the thing that keeps money and influence and power circulating across the globe. That is, at this point, basically a computerized system. And he is one element of it. And they fucked something up in the code. They messed up. Somebody got sloppy. And this is the code rewriting itself and eliminating the glitch. And we're just going to forget about it. It's going to be something that is just a mere tickle in the back of our head. That was weird that time that happened, right? The guy who was friends with the two presidents and had a trafficking ring just killed himself in federal custody. That was weird. And then we just forget about it.
What I also think was funny is that Donald Trump did retweet something from like some comedian who's a fan of his, who did a video where he was like,
family.
Come on, like you're telling me that like, this guy had the dirt on the Clintons and like he just killed himself in jail, blah, blah, blah. And Trump was retweeting essentially endorsing the idea that, the Clinton, death list, which, by the way,
might be real.
I think it speaks for itself. But what I find hilarious about that is Trump is like, this doesn't add up. Wait, it doesn't make sense. It's fishy. Something's going on here. Something's rotten. And it's just like, if he were just still Donald Trump, that would be funny and understandable. But it's like, you're the president. You're the fucking president. You're telling me you couldn't keep this guy alive in federal custody?
He thinks his presidency is watching himself be president on television. He has no actual control over anything that's happening. All he could do is tweet, wow, that's crazy. Fucked up.
Fucked up if true. All right. Well, I don't want to go on too long about this. Like I said, I'm sure your brains are humming at a similar frequency, but we'll be back. And like I said, I'd like to talk to Brace and Liz again.
Yeah, I just want to run one idea by them, and that is that this entire thing it's either what I said earlier, a glitch in the code that needed to be fixed, debugged, or an intentional Freemasonic ritual called the making manifest of that which is hidden, in which the occult powers reveal themselves to the masses as a ritualized coming out, a revelation, an apocalypse to bring in the new dawning era, the age of Horus.
Are we in the age of Horus? Stay tuned for further details.
It's the year of the pig.
I would like to get Virgil in on this conversation. Virgil,
hi, I'm here. Yeah,
yes.
Reporting from the other couch.
Virgil doesn't like talking about the dark forces.
I know. I like talking about the dark forces. I just, as you've seen, Matt is on another wavelength. He's off the spectrum at this point. And the past few days of hanging out with him has just been an endless torrent of that sort of thing. And I can't really maintain my sanity in this place.
It's not a Lovecraft protagonist.
Just keep in mind, we are in the field right now, as we'll talk to you about. So we are cut off from our regular supply of substances that make us human in New York. We have been making do with local non-craft cocaine.
Various poultices. Tinctures.
I've been eating, I tried this. It's a local delicacy at the State Fair. It's called a GMO.
Obviously, we got to talk Epstein because, things... It's fascinating because, like, as soon as he died, like, that story just fucking disappeared.
Yeah, almost like that was the idea.
It's odd how that happened.
It's like, hey, this guy, this could be like a year-long criminal case with a bunch of discovery. What if he just died?
I mean, obviously, among, gentlemen such as ourselves, obviously there's still so much going on here. But as far as, like, the official press recognition or following this story, they're like, oh, well, the NFL drafts, the NFL season's coming soon. Like,
why are you bringing up old shit?
Yeah. But this has changed just this week. And I'm wondering if you could what is your take on the appearance of this guy, Michael Baden, who is a, forensic pathologist who is a sort of a sort of gadfly in the autopsy community.
in the body cutting up.
Yeah.
So
he's like the John Gotti of autopsy
absolutely.
He's like because it's like he's the one that everyone can name, but actual coroners. That guy's just a flash.
He's a flashy. He's a me first flashy.
He's a hip hop style.
He's a hip hop style coroner, not a lunch pail 9 to 5 coroner.
Yeah,
but he had that
He
show.
is a hip hop style.
Didn't he have that show on HBO, Secrets of the Dead or something?
Yeah,
Or like it was like a bunch of
I think it was called Autopsy.
Every guy I knew who had exactly like if I was doing stats for them, they had exact medium intelligence. They were like, that's the most interesting show on TV.
So you got this guy Michael Baden, who I said is sort of a bit of a press hound for this kind of shit, and he is
the Dr. Joyce Brothers of autopsies.
And he is now giving interviews. He has been hired by Epstein's brother or his estate to do like a private examination of this, and he is now giving interviews to Fox News and other outlets, saying, based on his study of the evidence here, he would say that this points to homicide rather than suicide. I mean, no shit. This is what everyone is. We've been screaming for months now.
Yeah.
But like, what do you make? So Brace, what do you make of him introducing this again into the public consciousness?
So it kind of throws a wrench in things because obviously, Epstein was murdered, right?
Yes.
But Michael Baden also is a fucking scumbag who is hired by Epstein's team. So like, it makes you wonder, like, oh, was he not murdered? Is this okay? But I think he was murdered, and I think that like it's one of those things where Baden is correct, but he's doing it not to get to the truth of the matter, but he's doing it to sort of obfuscate things in the courtroom. Because obviously, there are these big lawsuits against Epstein's estate, and the money kind of can't move to his brother, Mark Epstein, like it's supposed to without these being dealt with first. So I think this could just add a wrench in those proceedings. But Michael Baden is basing his opinion on the fact that a bone was broken in Epstein's neck, the hyoid bone, which is not like, that's not a bone that breaks when you do what Epstein did. By the way,
what I've read, they said like it does happen sometimes in suicides, especially in older men. Like it's not completely like, jet fuel, steel beams.
Right, yeah.
Parody, not true.
I think the most famous case,
like it is something that is almost always consistent with a homicide.
Yeah, it's like it's like a circle graph. Like not every time that bone is broken doesn't mean it was a murder. But every time there's a murder, that bone is broken, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And if both cameras outside of the cell are
you add that.
And all of the guards are asleep simultaneously.
That's the thing that I think that like we could clear all of this up very quickly if we were just allowed to watch the hours before Epstein's death and to see if anybody came in there and said anything to him or did something to him.
We can't do that.
That is not going to happen.
The camera's broke. What do you want? It happens.
Unlucky. Bad RNG. It's a bad RNG, dude. It's a battle royale.
True.
The ping at the Manhattan Correctional Center was out of this world.
Yeah. Fucking wireless Logitech products. Always fucking shitting on me, dude. I'm done with it.
It's like everyone was they weren't supposed to be there in the first place, and then the cameras were broken, and then he hanged himself in what is like in a ward of a jail that hasn't seen a suicide for 30 years, and the last guy who killed himself was in the mob. So it's a little suspicious. And it's Michael Baden, of course, himself is I think he was famously fired as it was like something like the it was like some high up position in New York State, like a medical position, because he was giving people advice on how to get away with murder.
The one thing we didn't want him to do.
Yeah. And of course he doing a autopsy on JFK for the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which another one of those things that make you go,
Again, you have very odd, but like as an addendum to this, like you have a questionable person, clearly for what is easily discernible as odd to, suspect reasons is
Yes.
reintroducing what is a factual and what honestly everyone should be talking about, the fact that he was clearly murdered in custody.
Yeah.
But like this has also inspired a new round of media takes. I'm thinking specifically of a piece I saw in Jezebel that essentially implied that like the headline was like, "Oh no, time for another nightmarish debate about whether Epstein killed himself or was murdered." And they like the new line seems to be that like, let's just stop talking about this. This debate is sort of ghoulish and cruel, and most importantly, doesn't center the victims. Like his victims are being denied sort of agency or so like some like that having this debate is somehow cruel or gauche when like his actual victims are seeking some kind of justice through, like you said, these lawsuits against his estate, which seems doubly odd to me, because if you take that line seriously, like if he was murdered, that's a very important question, because the people who fucking killed him are almost certainly the people who have victimized, abused, and probably killed other people related to this case as well. So isn't that important to kind of figure out like what's going on here? If you're concerned about bringing justice to these people?
Everybody who has said like, "Oh, don't pay attention to how he was killed, pay attention to what he did when he was alive," is they're in my black book, if you know what I mean. It's obvious that all of this is so connected. Like how he was killed, who killed him, has a very big impact on getting justice for the victims, because it will allow us to finally lock up William Jefferson Clinton. If Jeffrey Epstein was fucking strangled to death in the Manhattan Correctional Center, I believe that is pretty fucking prescient to what happens to his victims, right?
Yeah, like to think that he was killed and it had nothing to do with like other people who were involved. Like, do they think that like, yeah, someone bribed the guards and got into the correctional facility. They did all this shit to kill him, but because he was bad. Like, is that what they think? You would literally have to think that to be like, this has nothing to do with the victims.
Yeah, no, this is like Assassin's Creed or something. Like he was given this mission by a guy on the street, and he came in and just walked by Epstein and stuck him or something. It's totally ridiculous.
It was Karl Marx. He was like, to protect free elections, we have to kill this bad man, Jeffrey Epstein. There should literally be no other news story except for Jeffrey Epstein.
This is like when we had you on, like, you know, again, back when he was still alive to talk about this.
Yeah.
We compared it to the Mueller report. And now we have this Ukraine impeachment shit, which is, like, in my opinion, way more substantive than anything that the Mueller report produced. But at the same time, I still don't give a shit, because this is the only thing I fucking care about. Like, how can you just have this out there in your consciousnmy and be obsessing over all this other shit?
No, Felix, speak.
Yeah, it's like the people who are like, my favorite posts after Epstein were like the Pod Save Network people, the crooked media people who were like, just like, well, you know, what are you going to do? Anyway, we have our 70th emergency podcast this month about how Glenn Simpson actually heroically pointed out to the whistleblower that his email was being read by Mark Duragitz and Teddy Ziggurat was seen with Clayton Grimshaw. And it's like, this is the thing you're obsessive about? This fucking thing?
Like,
this bullshit?
We literally have fucking Prince Andrew is like, can be arrested for raping a child. And we're fucking talking about Ukraine. Like, we can finally take out Cromwell's dream. Finally destroy the British royal family. But it's like somehow this is just like it's a conspiracy theory because it's complicated and because it's not on fucking Mad Out. Like somehow the Mueller report shit isn't a these FISA warrants or whatever aren't a conspiracy theory. But the fact that someone was killed in like actually turns out to be a pretty low security jail is just totally like out of bounds. And there's going to be a whole wash of articles now. In fact, I've seen a few already. Like, well, Michael Baden can't be trusted. Yeah, Michael Baden can't be trusted, but he's right. Like, it's murder. I mean, I can't trust journalists either. They fucking helped do the Iraq War. but like it's totally insane. And
Right.
the thing is, some of our faves will be implicated. I want that to happen.
Right. And
Like there's
no, yeah, like, okay, if Michael Baden can't be trusted, like, okay, so the Manhattan Correctional Facility people can. Like, no one in this can be trusted, but like, yeah, it's like the thing I've seen these, like, the mass media go after the past 2 days is if the Trump guy was too mean to the colonel who was on TV. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This?
But just as to the issue of the MCC and this suicide, I'd like to suggest not so much like a counterfactual, but just like, maybe I mentioned this before, but like a parallel storyline that I think makes a very compelling contrast with the idea that he committed suicide in like the most secure protection you can be in as the highest profile prisoner in American custody. Prior to all of this, like maybe even just like a month before, El Chapo Guzman was held in Brooklyn, in a similar facility in Brooklyn, and taken to a courthouse in Brooklyn where he was convicted and is now sent to like supermax prison. Mm-hmm. And they carried out that trial where like every single time he walked into daylight, he was wearing like a bulletproof suit and probably covered by like 20 snipers, because he was, up until Epstein, the most high profile person. And like so Chapo is a guy, not only he's escaped from jail twice, right?
He's
responsible for the deaths of like countless prosecutors, police, and law enforcement people in Mexico. So there's like always obviously we're very careful about like the idea that he could be broken out or there could be some sort of attack on the trial itself. But further than that, if you're a guy facing life in supermax prison, you pretty much have like every reason to pretty much kill yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And if he had killed himself in custody, that would have been such a defeat for like the entire weight of like the U.S. prosecutorial apparatus that it would be like unthinkable
like
that they could allow that to happen
before they could hang him.
Exactly. Like if they want you to breathe every second of your life in a fucking box because that's like your punishment and that's the power that they have as the state, you're telling me that like they can't absolutely make sure that you live to experience every second of your punishment. This was happening basically parallel to the Epstein thing. And then and he's just like, oh, he just killed himself in jail. Oops.
Oh, well.
I was talking about this with Catherine last night, the El Chapo connection, and just this contrast here being so vivid. And I just like to say, just for the listeners, you can do this too if you have an acute ep-pilled GF.
It's the thing is about Epstein's suicide too, is I have been in jail, and I actually have like had a close friend of mine was in solitary in jail where things are a little bit different. You know, you have even thinner sheets, etc. It's killing yourself with one of these fucking sheets is so hard. Like these things are basically paper. You can rip them. And like the fact that they're saying Epstein hung his like he like hung himself from the top bunk and like leaned forward and snapped
with force. With force. He leaned forward with force.
Yeah, it's just totally so out of the bounds of reality that like that should be the fucking conspiracy theory. The fact that they're saying that somebody can kill themselves with a sheet that's like thinner, it's like a millimeter fucking thick.
I mean,
it's not like you get 50 of these sheets. He was having a blast in jail, dude. His lawyers were bringing him hot. Think about this. Epstein had more sex in the Manhattan Correctional Center than statistically most listeners of Chapo Trap House have had in their entire lives. His lawyers would bring him girls to have sex with. And he was in high spirits. The last time he saw his lawyers, he said, "I'll see you Sunday." And we're supposed to believe that he just went back to his cell, got so despondent because he could only read trashy airport bookstore literature there instead of the Gouda and all these other things I'm sure he was used to reading in his mansion. And he fucking killed himself by leaning forward.
He was also in the week leading up to his death, paying off women to not testify against him. He was dispersing payments to keep them quiet. Why would you do that? Why would you bother with that?
Do that?
And everyone who says
people give away their belongings before they commit suicide.
But the one that gets me is just a lot of people say like, this guy is like this alpha sex maniac. He can't bear the thought of being, in jail. It's like maybe after he's convicted, I might buy that. Yeah, you know, like if he gets like all the tricks up his sleeve don't work, he can't swing a deal, and he gets a real like life sentence. I could see him killing himself then, but they hadn't even fucking tried him yet,
and all his
selected the jury,
and all his previous interactions with the criminal justice system would have proven to him by now.
Well for him.
Look,
here's the thing: this is a man, as we found out about the Zorro rant stuff, who wanted his penis and head frozen.
Yes.
So presumably they could be attached to some sort of
fuckbot
horrible robot later when technology
a post-apocalyptic
advances.
Fuckbot. Yes.
That is exactly. And he spent all this money, all this time, all this research. Like he was. It appears that he was basically dedicating like a good chunk of his life to this sort of life extension, this transhumanist stuff, and then he just kills himself in jail and lets his body sit there for hours while his penis, I'm sure, degrades. His egg-shaped penis, by the way. And then of course someone catches just a glimpse of him on camera being brought into the medical examiners, and nothing else.
I gotta say, the thing about him wanting to save his penis really proves that he's a complete psychopath, because if you have a trash dick like that, like an awful egg dick, and you're imagining some future where you're in a robot body and you get to fuck forever, wouldn't you want like the highest end robot penis to replace your shitty trapezoid dick? Instead, he's like, nah, man, I'm sticking with this thing. This got me this far.
That's like the most darkly funny thing about Epstein is how fucking stupid he was.
He was a moron.
Yeah. Like he was obviously involved in this like international intelligence blackmail scheme, like the types that's existed for a while. But like as a guy, he was just a fucking idiot. Like I know that a lot of this is like influence peddling, but like the idea of him just being like, yo, I'm going to get all the science guys to come to my house, and they're going to tell me how to get pussy. Like, he was a fucking
got Stephen
dolt.
Hawking on a submarine, man. Like, you don't do that unless like you think there's like a 20% chance that you can fuck a girl in the year 2075.
Yo, I'm going to get Steven Pinker over here, and we're just going to vibe, and he's going to tell me how to basically be immortal.
One of my favorite things that's happened since then is that because of this case now, one of my favorite things to do whenever you see some totally obnoxious, just evil person on Twitter sharing their idiot opinions like Larry Summers or Steven Pinker or Bill Gates, just reply to them always with one of the dozens of pictures of them and Jeffrey Epstein having fun together. And I've noticed that when you start doing that, like to Steven Pinker especially, like a lot of like the IDW people or people who love smart people get very angry about that. And what they say is like, oh, Stephen Hawking went to Epstein Island too. You telling me he was abusing women? And I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure, dude. Yeah.
Didn't his wife divorce him?
He cheated on his wife with his nurse in his chair. He was able to cheat on his wife in the chair.
Again, to Chapo listeners, these guys are getting more pussy than you. I'm sorry. Even Stephen Hawking. It is so like somebody who is so obsessed with something, especially so obsessed with life extension, to do this is just beyond the realm of possibility.
Not when you have cards to play. That's the thing. He had cards to play still,
right? And people say like
he had basically unlimited funds, and as we know, if you have money, it is a different justice system. Even if the fucking media is on you. OJ got.
Yeah.
Right. And like people were like, oh, but it would he got a sweetheart deal last time and it would be different this time because of the media circus. It's like, you want to fucking bet? I mean, like, look how quick the news cycle moves now. Like if they would, like, I'm guessing what they would have done is just drag this out for like 2 years, which is entirely possible if you have unlimited funds. And lo and behold, people fucking forget. They do it all the time.
If he could drag this court case out forever, which I'm sure was and now even after his death still is the plan, he could still have sex 3 times a day, which was the thing that his life, besides of course being a high value intelligence asset, was devoted to. So like, there's why kill himself because he doesn't have luxury?
Because the food was terrible.
Okay, there's 2 more. I guess we're going to go long on this, but there's 2 more threads that I need to bring up with you. The first of which is, where in the world is Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. As these civil suits go on, there are attorneys representing the victims who basically have subpoenaed Ghislaine because she is a probably second only to him, like the most integral figure to this entire criminal enterprise, right? They have said now that like literally they don't know where to serve it. Like there was a
claim. Apparently Interpol's looking for her, and there was a thing a couple weeks ago claiming that they had triangulated her cell phone to a resort in Brazil, but nothing has come of that. Nothing has come of that.
Okay, so like just back up for a second though. A while ago, we all know for a fact, like up until about 2015, Ghislaine Maxwell was photographed. If you just search like the Getty archives, her name,
everyone.
She was photographed basically at every single high profile, like the any party being held in Silicon Valley, Hollywood, or DC, of like the heights
and Manhattan, of course,
and Manhattan, and like the heights of like every sector of like power and influence in this country. She was at every party being photographed with everyone. Famously at Chelsea Clinton's wedding, there's that photo of her. She had an aisle seat at the wedding, such that when Chelsea was walking down the aisle to her beautiful, ugly Phil son husband, she was sticking her head out, and it was just like a line of people, and then just her head poking out. Then drops off the radar entirely, is not photographed or seen at any sort of society event for like 4 years. Then after the death, there's a story about how she's been held up in Manchester by the Sea, yes, the film and the town in New Hampshire, with this Silicon Valley type. That's the only like thing that we hear. Then days later, we get the photo of her at In-N-Out Burger reading a book called The Life and Death of CIA Agents,
and which
was exposed as a total fabrication.
It was a fake
within
photograph.
about 24 hours of it happening, and then never heard another word about it.
Yep.
Not a word.
Yeah, she's supposed to be in Brazil, but nobody's served her. Nobody's seen her there. And if she's in a resort, some fucking busboy or some waiter or somebody would have taken a picture of her. This horseshit. She does not have she's rich, but she does not have the resources to disappear like that unless somebody is helping her do it, or she's dead, which is my bet, honestly.
It's kind of funny. Her sister actually, or her sisters who are twins, actually came up with this software called Kiliad, which the FBI uses, which is a way to sort of, let's say, coordinate like suspects' profiles across systems. So presumably she has a couple of inside men on that.
And of course, there's the story about the day after the video, the photo was released. The customs network at all American airports went down.
All went out.
Unlucky. Just, dude, there's so much bad luck around this case.
And that means everybody had to do it by hand, which meant nobody could like authenticate the documents using any of the computer programs.
Yeah, she is. So she is said to be in Brazil along with Jean-Luc Brunel, who is this just like lifelong rapist, allegedly.
Monster, absolute scumbag.
A total monster who is a modeling, quote unquote, modeling agency like director and talent. Later in his life, just became exclusively a talent scout in Brazil. And there's actually testimony in the that emerged where I think it was Epstein's like houseman or something, like his butler, was talking about how Jean-Luc Brunel was always on the phone getting girls from Brazil. So he has a network down there, and when it emerged that Ghislaine was down there, it emerged that Brunel was down there. So my theory on that is either they are trying quickly to have a baby that will become some sort of like pedophile super baby that will eventually like emerge and repopulate the earth with all these horrible pedophiles, or they are both just dead, which sounds correct to me. Like I don't think we'll ever see them again.
I tweeted this, and I really think it's true. She is either in one of those doomsday bunkers that billionaires are building in New Zealand, or she's part of the foundation of one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're using her fucking skull as a goblin somewhere down there, and it's the fact that like she was able to maybe slip out of the country. Maybe she had already slipped out of the country without anybody noticing whatsoever. I mean, she was all over the news and at airport. I assume one person would be like, "Oh, that's the famous pedophile lady that's like on the front page of every newspaper."
Yes,
but nobody did.
No, but not a single mention.
Well, because it's interesting.
Like every time I go through an airport, I get stopped for a long fucking time, and this lady can go through.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, the fact that she was photographed at like every single society party. And like the interesting thing is, despite being one of the most visible people in the world, she's like, not like her photo ever showed up on like Us Weekly, because like to the punters buying it, they would like, who's this person standing next to Bill Clinton or Elon Musk or whatever, right?
Plus, she's busted.
But everybody in that world clearly knew who she was, and she was always like, again, wrangled an invitation to Chelsea Clinton's wedding. I mean, think about the circles you have to be in to get that an aisle seat at that fucking wedding. Okay, so then and then she just fucking disappears for like 4 years, and then now nobody knows where she is. And I'm sorry, like, is there any news outlet or journalist looking into this question at all?
I mean, I have every single day I think about quitting at Anchor and just fucking going down there. Because she's either in Brazil or there's rumors that she was in Thailand with Brunel as well, and just cutting my way through the jungle to find the place where her body is buried, because she's out there. Like, I know she's out there. Either her body or her living soul is out there, and I must find her and keep her safe. But yeah, she will never appear on a fucking witness stand. She will never we'll never hear another peep from her. If she somehow is alive, she is just going to be in another country forever, totally silent.
See, that's the thing for me that really clinches the narrative here. Not only do you have all the ridiculous coincidences going around with Epstein's suicide, all of those just stacked up things that make it impossible to know what happened. Oops. You have the fact that this person disappears. Because I remember when it came out that, oh, she's hanging out with this billionaire in Massachusetts, I remember thinking, oh, fuck, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got too carried away with this thing. But then there was a photoshopped goddamn photograph, and then she disappeared completely. I'm like, okay, never mind.
Not even a particularly well done.
No, that's the thing that's so baffling about it, because it clearly was not invented
like within a day.
It was clearly not designed to actually fool anyone for any length of time. It was some sort of either message or just buying literally a day. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. This gets me to my the second and last thing that I need to bring up here. Matt, you mentioned about like the fact that it was such a poorly done like stitch up of like the movie ad wasn't right for that time or place. It was like so clearly fabricated.
There were artifacts all in it.
Yeah, and like it just like, and it makes you wonder like, okay, well, like who's this? So obviously it's not to fool anyone.
Yeah.
But like you and I are not like the received audience for whatever message was being conveyed there, and the fact of the book that she was reading that was clearly visible. Another huge tell here.
Well, no, actually the book wasn't visible.
Oh, was
That's
it?
the thing. No, it was only reported at first, quote unquote, reported by a witness, and then it turns out it was just reported by her lawyer that the book was about heroes or dead heroes or something of the CIA.
I mean, she runs a book club. You know, people want to know Ghislaine's reading group. What she's on about. Okay, so keep that in mind. Which brings me to my next digression here. Kevin Spacey. You remember at the end of last year when he released that video as Frank Underwood, again, like in character.
Yes.
As his character from House of Cards, where he addresses the camera like this bizarre monologue that when it happened at the end of last year, I was just like, this has blown out everything that's happened in 2018 before. Like, this is the most insane thing that will happen. Like my jaw was open, bleary eyed.
It was
I was like, this is a madman. Like this, why would he do this? Who around him is like, yeah, Kevin, this is a great idea. Get in character as Frank Underwood and like inveigh vaguely about like, the conspiracies against you. And add to that the coffee mug with Queen Elizabeth's coronation.
Yes.
Which was clearly visible in that video. Again, you asked yourself back then, this makes absolutely no sense. This is the most insane thing I have ever seen. He is completely cracked. Looking at it now,
it was a fucking warning.
Looking at it now, it begins to take on a much different, more. There is a evil and sinister, but clearly logical, rational reason to do this. If you look about it through this light, that you and I, the video released publicly, we're not the audience for this video.
No.
So consider the fact that he is essentially playing the character that he did on House of Cards. Again, Catherine and I were talking about this last night, and I guess I had never really considered it. Consider the parallels between Frank Underwood and his wife and Bill and Hillary Clinton. Frank Underwood is a Southern Democrat who sort of governs from the center right of his party, who is sort of this like, you know, covetous of power and this kind of Machiavellian political figure. That there are these like, you know, parallels that are clearly like on the surface pseudo based on Bill Clinton and Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add to that the very, very close relationship that Kevin Spacey had with Bill Clinton post-presidency and the Clinton Foundation. And then add on top of that the veiled threat to the royal family, i.e. Prince Andrew and that coffee cup. And what do you begin to think takes shape with regards to Kevin Spacey? And now we know one of his accusers in one of the trials that he was on, dead. The other pleaded the fifth on the stand and tanked the entire trial.
Amazing.
And now he's pretty clear. He's in Serbia. He's hanging out in Serbia right now.
He's in
has been
Serbia?
for months.
Yeah.
Recently, yeah.
Oh my God. That is fucking spook city, Serbia.
Oh, yeah.
No shit. So someone made him go there.
So Kevin Spacey went from being like, oh my God, like this guy, like his crimes have been exposed. Like there is like numerous criminal like lawsuits.
He's just a
like,
deluded maniac.
Like he's a totally deluded maniac. This guy is like, you know, crashing and burning. Months later, he's off scot-free.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what, Brace, what do you think, like, again, I'm heavily implying here, but what begins to take shape when you think about this now?
So the Let Me Be Frank video caused shockwave. I mean, I still watch it about once a month. It is the most psychotic thing I've ever seen him do, unless you consider that, yes, that mug at the end, because it's everything in that video is like, you don't just pick that mug, right? Like there's not a lot of things to look at in the video, and the mug is one of the few things that like your eyes are drawn to, especially at the end where he takes this sort of purposeful sip of it. He toured a private tour of the Royal Palace in I think 2015, and breaking all protocol, which they take seriously there because they don't have much else. He sat in the Queen's coronation chair. So it's either he could be saying a number of things, but we also must keep in mind that of course he flew in the Lolita Express alongside one William Jefferson Clinton, Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and for some reason Chris Tucker.
Oh, that'll never not be funny. That'll never not be funny. That's the one fucking Rush Hour guy.
Yeah,
oh my God.
That's just the perfect touch to know that you're living in like the DMT death dream of a country.
But it, again, shows how dumb, like that Epstein was truly stupid, because it's like, yeah, he got all the business and political leaders he needed to complete his task, his role in the world. But he was also like, yo, Rush Hour was some funny ass shit. Yo, so are you like still friends with Jackie Chan or what?
So it's I think it's a warning to the royal message or to the royal family, or a message to the royal family. And it could mean two things. It could mean that things are about to come, the house of cards is about to come tumbling down. Or it means you better kill Jeffrey Epstein. So I can be coronated as ultimate pedophile in the United States.
There can be only one.
It's so interesting because all attention basically has dropped from Spacey, and in fact, he's back. There was just a video of him performing some poem at like some fancy society gathering in Greece with all these hoity-toity types. I think Kevin Spacey is going to reemerge. But everybody else involved in this is it's not necessarily going down, because these people kind of can't go down, or at least no one has. There's a lot of people with an interest of that they don't go down. But everybody else has been sort of tainted by this. Like Clinton is, Prince Andrew is, but Kevin Spacey, he's just sipping the tea,
literally,
because they came for him. It didn't work, and now they're coming for the royal family. They're coming for Epstein, and it is going to work. Well, it's also not going to work. To be honest about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a symbol, because there's no way that he thought he was going to get his fucking show back. Like,
yeah,
it's just like he becomes like one of those guys who's like, bring Firefly back.
I was out there in Times Square. I was counter-protesting the OA guys. I was dancing to bring back House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, totally alone. The only thing that kept me going was that Gandhi quote, first they laugh at you, then you have Francis the House Cards back. So do you like silver lining? Maybe we try not to end on like total pessimism. Will Kevin Spacey be in a movie filmed in Serbia with Steven Seagal?
Oh God, fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Let's do
Serbian
it.
film too.
I guess like
His whole life has been yeah.
Yeah.
oh my god,
Absolutely.
Oh my God! What if they sent Seagal to kill Epstein? They're like, all right, you can finally be of some use to us. And he went in there, somehow found a way to sit down. That's why Epstein was hung from the bed, because it was the only way Seagal could sit down. And he was like, "Your family hates you." And Epstein's last words were like, "Why are you making that voice?" And he just fucking died.
My theory about Jeffrey Epstein, either death or disappearance, is this is my pet theory, is that his good friends, David Blaine and David Copperfield, the magicians, were able to one was in charge of the cameras and the other was either in charge of taking out Epstein or disappearing him. I mean, these guys
and by the way,
made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
By the way, both
they can make Epstein disappear.
Like pretty much all magicians, but Copperfield and David Blaine especially.
Yeah.
I will say allegedly many allegations of them being complete rape monsters.
No, wait.
I can't remember. I think David Blaine has a rape island.
Yeah.
Copperfield has a rape island.
Oh yeah.
Copperfield is a rape island. Yeah.
You know who's like? I've never seen a bad word said about him. The Mind Freak.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No accusations against Chris Angel or Doug Henning. He was a good guy.
Yeah,
Gentle Canadian soul.
The only good one, the amazing Jonathan, was going to blow the whistle on all these guys.
And they gave him the heart attack.
But yeah, we got to put. I mean, I hate sort of put a damper. I know witches are often persecuted around Halloween. People doing green face, etc. But we really got to put a stop in magic business until we can either figure out a counter for magic, which is possibly some sort of armor made out of steam, etc., or we can just throw all the witches in some sort of prison, put them in Idlib.
Okay, this is just like one final thing, like to wrap this up. I know you must have seen recently Hillary and Chelsea Clinton being on sort of a media tour to promote their latest children's book, which is about brave women.
Yes.
I know one really brave woman. No one can find her right now.
And they made the rounds of the morning shows or whatever, and then again, of course, because the primary was going on, a lot of people were being like, "Oh, like Hillary Clinton's booking all these media appearances. Is she going to jump in?" Blah blah blah. Which who cares? I am, of course, fingers crossed, extremely rooting for her to do just that.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
my broader question is: you've got Bill just did a video about suicide awareness. Very funny. But
that was so good for my engagement stats.
People love doing suicide. Everyone's aware of suicide. Like, everyone I know wants to do it. Certainly, if I was about to kill myself, I logged on Twitter to look at all the people who make me want to kill myself, and I see fucking Bill Clinton, I'm immediately taking fentanyl.
Bill Clinton just shows up on a Facebook video and he's like, "I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. I would understand." No,
it's the best bullshit celebrity cause. Just awareness of mental health. It's the best one.
And I was gonna say, Bill Clinton, he is scaled back.
Oh yeah,
and it's largely also due to the fact that he looks like a corpse now.
The adrenochrome connect got.
The plug.
Off. Yeah,
they ran off on the plug.
Same thing with Biden. That's why his brain is melting.
No, I have a theory about Biden. I think so. Biden, you would think he would be implicated in this. He fits the profile of every powerful Democratic politician who would be, but he's not. And I think I know why.
Why?
Biden thought Epstein was gay. Epstein went up to Biden and was like, he's gave his idiot spiel. He's like, "Can I interest you? Some rules are meant to be broken." And he's like, who's the queer Jewish fellow with all the daughters?
He's like, I really respect you, man.
Yeah.
He's like, that's really cool that you're doing that. You're open about it.
Yeah, man,
it's not my bag. But good. God bless you,
man. I'm so glad guys like you. They didn't even let you used to get on airplanes. Now you got your own, man.
To tie it all together, Bill has scaled back his public profile, but Hillary and fucking Chelsea, Hillary Clinton especially, still out there, fucking like no fucking difference. Just
And Chelsea was the best of all of them. Chelsea had the closest relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yes.
So again, like here's the question that I slam my fucking head into a wall every time it comes up. Why is anyone whose name is Clinton or even tangentially associated with their political machine or their foundation allowed to go on TV and the first question they're asked is not about Jeffrey Epstein?
Seriously?
Because it's like all the people that run these news channels are also like depraved rapists.
It's kind of
So
true.
like if they ask him about Jeffrey Epstein, someone will be ask them about either their own connection to Jeffrey Epstein or like the I'm sure countless rapes they've committed with female journalists. I mean, if the past couple of years have been any indication, all the people like CNN, NBC,
Matt Lauer,
are just
Redstone,
total fucking sickos.
Yeah, it's a
So
mutually
like, once
assured
you get a
discussion.
certain amount of money, if you were inclined to be a sicko like naturally, there's like it's God does like a chance roll or something, and if you get like a 6 or above, you just become an absolute like vile piece of shit.
And even if you don't naturally incline towards being a sicko, one, wealth disconnects you from humanity and makes you less empathetic, more of a sociopath. And two, they're going to make you do it so they know you're cool. Like
exactly. There's a lot of people that talk about like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like it is, I mean, a cabal is just a collection of who do weird shit. And like, it's obviously rich people, like poor people bond by like cutting coupons or like, following, sort of bogus health pages on Facebook. And rich people bond by just the merciless, like depraved exploitation of young girls or young boys sometimes.
Whatever they like.
I think people all my coworkers talk about Epstein all the time. Like the people remember Epstein, but like the media has just immediately moved on. And, for some reason people have this still like vestigial trust in like the New York Times or CNN or something, just because either the president hates it or because they don't like really know where else to turn to. But like those people are all implicated in one way or another, whether it's the sexual angle or whether it's the intelligence. They're all on the same side, and it's not your side.
Got to get rid of these rich people, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, like when we talked about this with you and Liz, I mean, I think like the real like, what is the resolution to any of this? Like, how can it be fixed or changed? Like the answer is like, there is no resolution or there won't be any like justice or tidy or anything satisfying publicly that will come of this. But if you want to fix it, just take away these people's money.
Yeah.
Like just take away the wealth of everyone and there would be like there wouldn't be as much of this shit. They couldn't do it.
You can't buy an island without the money.
You can't have a rape island if you don't have the island.
Yeah.
You got to have the money.
So like when, Bernie says like there shouldn't be billionaires, like that's the obvious like next thing. If you're like, making a fucking campaign issue, there shouldn't be billionaires, there shouldn't be rape islands.
Yeah.
Like you can't have both.
Yeah, like exactly. And one does.
You can't have one without the other. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's 100% agreed. Like and also I think Bernie is one of the few people not connected to the cabal.
It's true. I really do believe that, even if that makes me a sucker. I know why he doesn't, but God, I really wish he would come out and say, when I'm president, I'm announcing a independent counsel to investigate the Epstein murder case.
When I met him, I was like, there was like a moment I had where I could have been like, Bernie, tell me about Jeffrey. And I fucking blew it. I was like, your labor plan's really good. He's like, thank you. I should have been like, can you investigate Hillary Clinton for eating a child?
A person who attended meetings at Epstein's townhouse said Gates enjoyed holding court there. Holy shit, are Melinda Gates' lawyers and PR people putting Bill through the fucking ringer right now? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? I mean, she's going to get like $1 zillion no matter what. I mean, are they trying to make sure that she gets like the Da Vinci Codex that he has or something? Fuck.
This entire thing has been funny because it's like seeing how much people default into just everything being like one of their stories, where it's like, oh, in the Bill and Melinda Gates relationship, there was a good guy and a bad guy. Like, one of them is the protagonist of the relationship.
Let's check out what the story said here. It says, bachelor sex offender Jeffrey Epstein gave Bill Gates advice on ending his marriage with Melinda after the Microsoft co-founder complained about her during a series of meetings at the money manager's mansion, according to two people familiar with the situation. Gates used the gathering at Epstein's $77 million New York townhouse as an escape from what he told Epstein was a toxic marriage, a topic both men found humorous, a person who attended the meetings told the Daily Beast. The billionaire met Epstein dozens of times starting in 2011 and continually through 2014, mostly at the financier's Manhattan home, a substantially higher number than has been previously reported. Their conversations took place years before Bill and Melinda Gates announced this month that they were splitting up. I think what's funny about that is, he's like, oh, he loved holding court at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion, and he loved complaining about the Melinda, shaking the rolling pin at him or whatever. In 2011 to 2014, like this is years after he had like served jail time for being a sex offender. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these stories where they're just like, I found his lifestyle very interesting. It was just like you were hanging out with this guy after it was like public record that he had gone to jail for soliciting a teenager for sex.
Yeah, but he also had a lot of really good relationship advice. Not a lot of people can say that,
Yeah.
Those are precious resources.
Well, Jeffrey Epstein, the real reason he was rich and like had all those friends was that he was actually like Hitch. That movie was based on him.
He was a hitch for the rich people. He was not doing the sexual style assaults.
Sort of like
That's why Leon Black gave him like $1 billion fucking dollars. He's like, you saved my marriage.
Yeah, you taught me how to dance funky so that I can get my wife back.
Elbows 6 inches from the waist, 90-degree angles. Don't you bite your lip. Stop it.
all these sad sack Kevin James types who just coming to them like coming to him hat in hand. It's just like, help me, Jeffrey.
Yeah,
I need swag.
Yeah, Glenn Dubin was like, you gave me so much swag, I'm going to sell you my daughter.
It says here, Gates, in turn, encouraged Epstein to rehabilitate his image in the media following his 2008 guilty plea for soliciting a minor for prostitution, and discussed Epstein becoming involved with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I mean, yeah, like that is what these charities are kind of for, right? They're just like, oh yeah, why don't you get involved with our foundation? It'll help you really, really help your image out after the whole buying teenagers for the purposes of having sex with them. The people familiar with the matter said Gates found freedom in Epstein's lair, where he met a rotating cast of bold-faced names and discussed worldly issues in between rounds of jokes and gossip, a men's club atmosphere that irritated Melinda. Hell hath no fury like what? A woman scorned.
Well, like she should have found like a girl Jeffrey Epstein to hang out with.
I just love the idea that they're treating Bill Gates hanging around with this guy who is like a Luciferian figure of unfathomable evil, like he's Ralph Cramden going to the Moose Lodge. And his wife is just waving the rolling pin at him.
I love it when I get home from like putting live infants in a burning Moloch statue. And
Doing the
liquid
brazen bull with a pre-K class.
just fucking vaporizing them. I just come home like just smelling like ash, like blood rubbed on my face, and my wife comes out in a bathrobe and her rollers, and she's like, "Where have you been?"
Oh God, some more of this. Oh boy. I got a hard day's work at the Microsoft thing, piling up the foreskins. All I want to do is blow off some steam.
I have to do 5 videos tomorrow where I drink poop and like try to airdrop condoms on sub-Saharan Africa.
I'm figuring out a way to make it so that millennials will live in dog cages, and I got to hear this when I come home.
One of these days, Melinda, pow, right to the island. It's not an overstatement. Going to Jeffrey's was a respite from his marriage. It was a way of getting away from Melinda, one of the people who was at several of the meetings said, adding that Epstein and Gates were, quote, very close. A representative for Bill Gates told the Daily Beast, your characterization of his meetings with Epstein and others about philanthropy is inaccurate, including who participated. Similarly, any claim that Gates spoke of his marriage or Melinda in a disparaging manner is false. So he wasn't just the bitch about your wife club, according to Bill Gates. I just go over to Jeffrey's house, hang out with the dudes, and complain about the old battle axe at home. And by the way, if you're as rich as Bill and Melinda Gates are, like, is it really a problem to be in a toxic marriage? You could just live in a different continent.
Yeah, no, I mean, and at that point anyway, it's like you're two multinational corporations. Even when you fuck, it's like the CEO of Nabisco and the CEO of Exxon, like shaking each other's hands.
Bill never received or solicited personal advice of any kind from Epstein on marriage or anything else. Bill never complained about Melinda or his marriage to Epstein. A representative for Melinda did not respond for request for comment for this report. I mean, they didn't respond for requests for comment from the report because they wrote the report. They're like, no, we gave you the comment. Yeah, it was just in all the sources we put you in touch with. As the Daily Beast exclusively reported, Melinda Gates was furious over Bill's relationship with Epstein and was put off by the creepy financier upon meeting him in September 2013 after the couple accepted an award in a New York City hotel. Melinda's anger, people familiar with the matter said, eventually led to the demise of Bill and Epstein's friendship. Shh. Yo, hold on to that L, folks. That's cringe.
Yo, sus. Yo, it's like Among Us, dude.
Among Us.
Yo, Melinda's sus. Goated.
I mean, I hate it when the wife gets in the way of bro time, you know?
Yeah.
Guys need to be guys.
Honest question.
Guys, we don't. What was it Andrew said on the stream? I was like, guys don't even have Spike TV anymore. There's nothing for guys to watch.
Honest question. Like Bill Gates, like obviously loved hanging out with Epstein, and then it's like Melinda made them break up like a year before he committed suicide. And do you think he like cried when that happened? Probably. He probably cried and was like, "Fuck you," and like slammed the door on his aircraft carrier. Or did he just like know it was going to happen and be like, you know, that's why I wanted more time hanging out with him. We're killing him soon.
I want some more of that great relationship advice before that we fucking stage his death.
I am like interested in his internal emotional world because it's like he probably knew that was coming, but there's also the part of him that was like, oh, I really liked hanging out with him. And now I can't even say goodbye because of my bitch wife. I mean, like it's just such a weird, like it's such a weird thing to try to navigate the human side of it, which I realize is weird to say with Bill and Melinda Gates, but it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I know. It's just like these are two of the most Olympian demons of Earth. Like these are archons of evil, like presiding over the coming, you know, liquefaction of a huge percentage of the global population. And they're also like the Lockhorns at the same time.
Yeah. It's so, because it's like, as awful as they are, it is like they are human beings who like have relationships with other human beings, even if they're like, you know, all right, we have to kill you for the guy that lives on the Denver airport mural. And it's like, I don't know. I'm so curious about it.
I mean, I just love the whole idea that like, yeah, like he was just seeking advice from Epstein on how to be swag. Like I would give anything for like the minutes of those meetings where he's just like, now Bill here, it's called surging. You want to put on a really wild hat when you go out.
And it's also like Epstein just like bought like 15-year-olds.
He looked like shit all the time.
It's like asking Jimmy Seville for like pickup tips. It's like insane.
No, I mean, again, like I love what like, unspoken here in the thing is just like he's had a boys' club atmosphere. He loved hanging out with Epstein, and like, his lifestyle was intriguing. I mean, it's like because he was a pimp for like every one of these rich nerds who were like demonically horny but have zero swag. So like that's why everyone in Epstein's circle is a guy like Bill Gates or Alan Dershowitz or Larry Summers or Steven Pinker, allegedly. I mean, isn't there a certain profile to all of these these lame nerds?
He collected the powerful and influential dorks.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, I can get you laid without you having to do any of the awkward stuff.
Yeah, it's literally like get me the richest and most annoying men on the planet.
The guys who can't get laid even with all that money because of how fucking lame they are.
Like imagine Dershowitz like before this trying to have an affair.
Yeah.
How do you think that went?
I mean, again, like I think all of them are like, even with their wealth and power, are limited from like the like typical like angry husband affair having tactics, because like in order to have an affair, you have to talk to a woman.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, like Alan Dershowitz bending your ear about anything is just about the most insufferable thing imaginable. So, I mean, just just remove all that and just buy teenagers from a from a dark money funded fucking global human trafficking pimp and financier to the rich and powerful.
It's like, imagine you're like a 28-year-old woman, you're in like sort of an upscale, like Upper Manhattan bar, you have like a form-fitting dress on, just hanging out, and then just like, you just smell like onions. This guy taps you on the shoulder and just like, have you never been to Tel Aviv? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck this guy, sure. Like, no, yeah, that's the whole point of Epstein.
No, he's like taps you on the shoulder. He's like, "Excuse me, my massage therapist, who's an 80-year-old Russian woman. She canceled on me last minute. I know this seems like an odd request, but I was wondering if you could just massage my shoulders for the next hour or so." On May 3rd, the high-powered couple announced they were ending their 27-year marriage in a statement that read in part, "We no longer believe we can grow together as a couple in the next phase of our lives. We ask for space and privacy for our family as we begin to navigate this next life." In her petition for divorce, Melinda said her marriage is irretrievably broken and indicated the couple had settled on a plan to divide their vast assets outside the courtroom. Last week, the New York Post reported that Gates told his golfing buddies he was in a loveless marriage, which had been over for some time, while people described Epstein as a sore spot in the couple's relationship. I mean, like, that's what's so, like, okay, so this is like, this is coming out now in the context of like their divorce, and I'm sure this is all being seeded by their various PR people and lawyers or whatever, but like still even reading this in the Daily Beast, this is all so veiled about, but it's so obvious what's absolutely going on here that both parties from the get-go knew exactly who Jeffrey Epstein was and everything that associated with him and like what going over to hang out with Jeffrey entailed.
Absolutely. The only other explanation for this divorce here, and maybe even the Bezos divorce too, might be that these people are like liquefying assets before a coming global collapse that they don't want to get caught overexposed on, and they're just having these as like as a public explanation for what's happening with all their money. But you know, if you're doing that, it still makes sense to cover that with another thing that's true, which is that Bill Gates loved going to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein.
People close to Bill Gates told the Daily Beast that the deterioration of the relationship could be seen in Bill and Melinda's body language. The couple used to interact with more laughter and ease, said one friend of Bill, who added that eventually being around them was like arriving at a summit. It wasn't like arriving at dinner with a couple or something. It was more like two heads of state, the friend added. So that's why Epstein could have been a factor in their split. But was it the factor? That I fundamentally don't believe. The friend said that the couple's strictly regimented existence as billionaire philanthropists supplanted the more normal life and levity they enjoyed in the younger years. Bill is far less comfortable being out in the world, the person said. For Bill, it was just so rare he was allowed to do normal things, which is what I think he really craved. Yeah, he craved doing normal things. Normal things. Normal guy stuff.
Yeah, you know, like every neighborhood has the hangout for the married men where they summon the demon Baal.
That sealed chamber underneath Little St. James, that was just a man cave.
Yeah. No, everyone has sacrificed children to the misery pit. Every guy does it, and he didn't get to do it because he wasn't normal enough.
Gates may have visited Epstein, a person said, because Gates enjoys talking and ideas and basically arguing with people, and he can be a really brutal person to argue with. He likes nothing better than to get together and debate or lecture people or tell everyone he's doing what he's doing with the polio vaccine. He has an ability, unlike any other person I've met, to lecture to a table of people without stopping for an hour. Boy, wouldn't you love to hang out with this guy?
Can't believe
awesome.
He had trouble finding friends.
Yeah,
it's awesome too because it's like people say that about Epstein, where it's like, oh, he before 2018, it was like, oh, he just loves big ideas, and then it's like you find out Epstein was just like stupid. Yeah, it's like, oh, it turns out the only thing this guy like knew anything about was pedophilia. But like when he would get scientists in a room, he would be like, yo, like is pee sterile? Yo, could you like clone me? It's like,
What about you? Could you freeze my dick?
yeah, and it was like, yeah. What were they? What were him and Bill Gates talking about then?
Big ideas like
Yeah.
if I nut into the freezer, can I come back to life a million years from now?
Yeah. Yo, could you like make a dinosaur?
I mean, I wish
Big
they were talking.
ideas,
I wish
smart
they were
debates.
talking about how to fucking do Jurassic Park. They were talking about how
Oh
to
my
fucking
God.
like how to create the T virus or something. I mean, like it was just like no, but it was all it was men that fit that profile. From like Epstein himself to Bill Gates to Dershowitz to fucking like all like Les Wexner, like run down the fucking list of all these guys. They would get together, obviously avail themselves of, victims of sex trafficking. But and then like the big ideas they would talk about is how can I live forever? And how can I make sure that every child born in the future carries my DNA?
Yes.
How can I
Yeah.
become all father to the new race of Morlocks that we're creating?
Yeah.
There was also that line
the
that I just
wealth of
read.
information the world lost.
There was that line I just read where it's like Bill Gates, he'd love to argue and lecture people. He'd love to tell you what he's doing with the polio vaccine. What's up? Wait, run that back. What is he doing with the polio
Yeah, I
vaccine?
wanted to, because
Yeah.
we've
I
had
thought that was
polio
sort of a
vaccine
settled
for
issue.
A while.
Yeah.
What's he doing with it?
Yeah, what?
Well,
God
we
damn
all-
it, Bill! Are you putting foreskins in the vaccine again?
I mean, we all know the main problem with the polio vaccine is that its IP rights aren't strong enough, and he's finally going to fix that.
Yeah, he's gonna make sure somebody makes money off of it.
Yeah, it's like you did. Like, do you think you invented that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Finally, here it says, according to the ex-employee, Melinda seemed to have a chip on her shoulder because no one really did see her as an equal to Bill, and her work didn't get as much media attention. It really irritated her that people were more into Bill.
I'm sorry, but
like-
I'm gonna
it's like, what do
side
you
with Bill
expect?
on that one.
Yeah, like, I mean,
He's
you're
the
not
guy
you're
who
not the
did
head
all
of
the shit. He's the
Microsoft.
guy
Sorry.
who did he's the guy who stole all the ideas about the computer. He's the guy who did all the illegal antitrust shit. He's the guy who's taken all the foreskins. He's done
Yeah.
the work.
Yeah,
Respect
like-
on his name, please.
Oh man. I
And it's
mean,
like-
she got her wish now because there are people who are like, yes, I stan Melinda Gates. My husband is also hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Gave me the courage to stand up.
It's this year. Another former employee told the Daily Beast that Epstein was a topic of conversation among staff even in 2017, 3 years after the men's friendship reportedly fizzled, because of concerns that Gates' previous ties to Epstein could harm his reputation. When you work at the foundation, your whole job in life is to protect and preserve and build up the reputation of Bill and Melinda Gates, the person said. I think that's why it still came up. It's because everybody in the fucking building knew what was going on. Every fucking single person, which is insane to me. Like, I mean, Melinda Gates is such a fucking hero now. It's like, I mean, Jesus Christ, took her this long to divorce the guy. If she raised an eyebrow about this back in fucking 10 years ago. Well, I guess when there's not much money involved, it's very hard. Things move at a glacial pace.
Yeah, you got to figure out like who gets the clone slaves. That takes a while.
Yeah, like exactly. Like, are we gonna split the space in the shared mega AI hard drive where we're gonna upload our consciousness into when we die to become immortal? How much
Okay.
megabytes is gonna be?
Can you
allotted
imagine
to each
that? Like they
person?
die and then they get uploaded into the cloud and they're like in the same cyber chamber or whatever the fuck for eternity.
Oh no, that's like Parent Trap. Like there's going to be a Parent Trap thing where like all of them are like immortal evil spirits, but their kids are like, oh my god, we should put them in the same blood crystal so they have to get back together. They're becoming like they're morphing into Lovecraftian great ones, and they're like, oh my god, we both have to be the awful god of the cosmos, amygdala. This is never gonna work. But then they like work.
You know
out
what?
their
They fall in love again.
differences.
They get their groove back. They fall in love again. You know, and then like, having every atom in their body pulled apart by like the great abyss really taught them. They found that levity and joy. You know, that flirtation, that spark that was there when they first started dating.
It's like, you know what? We had problems in our awful terrestrial bodies, but Now that we've made Bloodborne real and we're great ones, like, we found out why we first fell in love.
It was the human misery. We've somehow forgotten that over all those years. We gotten used to all the human misery that we were, all that psychic anguish that we would huff like fucking gasoline. We finally realized, oh yeah, that's what gets us off.